Here's a few quick tips on using small artificial lures to catch trout in Oklahoma. So, here in Oklahoma, we have several seasonal trout fisheries and a couple of year round trout fisheries. Some are in small urban ponds, others are in small lakes, and the other ones are in some slow moving creeks, all the way to some faster moving rivers and tailwaters. So, we're going to go through just a few quick options for kind of tried and true artificial lure offerings that are great for trout at any of our trout waters in the state. So I'm going to start with kind of my favorite, the ones that I always have on me no matter where I'm going to trout fish. And those are going to be just a regular rooster tail, Vibrick rooster tail, and super dupers. So our rooster tails going to look something like this. It's going to have a cylindrical body like that, a inline spinning flasher that's going to rotate around the bait when you're reeling it in. We have a little bit of tail back here and our treble hook right off the back. So for all rooster tails, super dupers, spoons, you want to keep it in between a 1/32 ounce and a 16th ounce. That's the perfect bait profile for trout in the state. You're going to catch the smallest trout that are in the water all the way up to the biggest trout that are in the water. So it gives you just the most flexibility to get bit as often as possible and just kind of up your catch rate for the day. So with any of the lures that I'm going to show you, I really like 3 or 4 different colors. A olive, it's going to be packaged for the rooster tails. It's called frog, but just a olive green color, really natural olive green with a gold flasher. Or a kind of a brown, this is labeled as grasshopper. Again, we have just our gold flasher. Maybe a bright orange if they want something a little bit flashier that day. Maybe you have some cloud cover. A flashy one might just get their attention. If you get a really dreary day, you can use something like this. It's just going to give you a little bit extra flash in the water. The Vibrick rooster tails, they have more of a conal shaped body. So it's just going to give you a slightly different vibration in the water than your standard rooster tail. So here's the same exact color, but we have 2 different body profiles. This is more of a bronze plate. This is more of a gold plate. It's got a little bit of green flash, but these are my go-tos right here. This is my favorite one. This little Vibrick 16th ounce in frog. And then this is my second go-to with this little grasshopper color, this brown. But you can also use blacks and whites, also very effective, like nice natural colors. Our super dupers, just like this, gold with a little red on them. These are really good, as well as kind of a rainbow trout pattern. Then you might also elect to use some type of spoon. So 2 really good spoons are going to be a Castmaster spoon. It's a shaved piece of metal just like that. This just wobbles through the water. Little Clio spoons or other concave spoons, just your classic kind of banana shape, concave on one side. Sometimes hammered nickel plate on the outside just gives it a little bit of wobble and vibration through the water. So what are we going to use with these when we're out there? So you're going to want anywhere from a micro light action rod all the way up to a medium action rod, just whatever you're comfortable with, whatever you have. Those are going to be great rod choices. You just want to stick kind of away from more of a heavy action. You really want more of a sensitive rod tip. It's going to help with the blade spinning on your inline spinners, as well as just give you a little extra action with your spoons and super dupers when they're in the water. Reel, whatever you're comfortable with. Spinning reel, spin casting reel, bait casting reel. They're all going to be effective. For a line, what are we looking for? 6-pound monofilament or fluorocarbon is the ideal line for all of these lures, as well for the fish themselves. It's just light enough that you're going to be able to play the fish, especially if you're on a light action rod or a medium light action rod. You can go up to 8 pounds, even 10 pounds. You're just going to have a lot more control over the fish. So if you like to kind of fight the fish, 6-pound test is going to be great. Maybe even 4-pound test on a medium light action rod where you have a good soft tip and your drag set really good. You're going to be able to play the fish. But 6 pounds is the ideal line weight to be able to play the fish as well as get the fish in. but you can elect all the way down to 2 pounds and all the way up to 10. But 6 pounds is just a really good line class to stick with. Monofilament or fluorocarbon, either is fine. So we don't need snap swivels for these. We're going to just tie we're going to tie our main line directly into the eyelid of all these lures. So tying on 16th ounce or 32nd ounce. If you're fishing in deeper water, or if you're fishing in deeper water with current, instead of sizing your lure profile up, instead of going to an 1/8 ounce or a 1/4 ounce, which is really going to up the bait profile, you don't want that. You're going to eliminate bites. You're going to get a lot of swings and misses. You really want to stay in that 16th to 32nd ounce range. So instead of sizing up our lure to get deeper down into the water column, what we're going to do is we're going to use a piece of small to medium size split shot. And you're just going to put that 6 to 8 inches above where your knot is tied on the main line. So we're going to pinch that down so it's on the line, and then you're going to take pliers and you're just going to give it one really good pull on there. So squeeze down, make sure it's nice and tight on the line. You don't want that moving up and down the line. So I give it some tension. I'm not pulling it. Perfect. It's on there. If you get too much out ahead, you get a foot, 2 feet out in front, all this line back here, it has an opportunity to tangle over something. So 6 to 8 inches in front of your hook or in front of your eyelid where your knot's tied on, that's going to be the perfect distance. And that's just going to give you enough so when it hits the water, just allow it to sink for a minute and then start to reel in. With all of these lures, we're just looking for a slow, steady retrieve. And if you're fishing in still water, like a lake or a pond, you're just going to cast straight out, down the bank, parallel to the bank. And once it hits the water, you're just going to start reeling in. If you notice on any of these inline spinners, when you're reeling them in, the tip of your rod, you should feel just a slight pulse as you're reeling. That means that your flasher right here is spinning around the body of the bait. If you're reeling in and it feels slack or you don't feel that pulse, that means that something has happened. Either your line's gotten wrapped around your treble hook or you have not got the blade spinning. So one quick tip to get that blade spinning every single time it hits the water is right when it hits the water and it submerges, go ahead and give a quick wrist pop so that your rod tip, kind of like a hook set, and you'll feel that blade start spinning. So it's just kind of one motion. You cast it out, just kind of a quick sweep and start reeling, and you should feel that blade and just a slight pulse. With the Super Dupers and the spoons, same deal. You just cast them out. No need to give a wrist flick because we don't have any flasher or a blade that needs to get spinning. Just a slow, steady retrieve. And all these are going to do is just flash and wobble, flash and wobble, flash and wobble. And that's just what's going to attract and draw in your strikes. So if you were fishing in current with any of these, so if you're fishing at Blue River, Lower Illinois, or Lower Mountain Fork, what you want to do is you don't want to cast directly downstream and you don't want to cast directly upstream, especially with your inline spinners, because we need this blade spinning. If you cast too far upstream, you're never going to be able to reel fast enough to catch up with the bait to get the blade spinning, and vice versa. If you cast directly downstream, because you have so much current and these are so light, it's just going to skip across the top of the water. So what we're looking for is we want to cast either directly cross current or just slightly upstream, all the way up to about 45 degrees upstream. And same deal, if you're using an inline spinning bait, when it hits the water, quick wrist snap to get that rod tip popped, and you'll feel this spinning. And then for your spoons and your Super Dupers, just cast it out, and then a slow, steady retrieve. When you're on moving water, what you're looking for, boulders, fast water that's coming through that has back eddies or seams along it. So what you want to do is you want to cast across that current, and that current's going to kind of help your line move, which should speed up your bait, which is why you're reeling so slow. And that flasher is going to go, and the bites are generally going to come right as you get near that fast moving water on the backside. That's going to be your backside seam, or as it whips through that fast moving water and catches the inside seam, the one nearest to you. And sometimes you will get a fish to chase it for a long distance before they'll bite. So a lot of times you'll see fish come up and bite it right by where you're standing if they chased it out of that fast water. And like I said, split shot to get down. If it takes 2 pieces of split shot to get it deeper, keep going with the split shot. Just make sure that you keep your baits small profile, 1/32 ounce to 1/16 ounce, and you're going to find fish. So just a brief, quick overview. Rooster Tails look something like this. I like browns, greens, and oranges. And I like gold or nickel bronze plated blades. But they make them in hundreds of different colors for all of these. Rooster Tails and Spoons and Super Dupers have, a dozen or so different color options. Your Vibrick Rooster Tails, they're also going to have a dozen or so other options. But I like whites, blacks, greens, browns, and oranges, and then gold for the spinning plates. And then if I'm using a Super Duper spoon, I like to have some type of gold in it if I'm not going with just a straight rainbow trout pattern. So with that, you use any of those, they'll fit into a nice little tackle box about this big. You can throw them in your back pocket, hoodie pocket, backpack. It's great for wading up and down a stream or taking to the lake. You don't need a whole lot of equipment to get you going to help you catch fish. Be sure to check out our other trout fishing videos for power bait and for fly fishing, and good luck out there this season.